Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Your Life Unfiltered podcast. We have another very special episode for you today. We're going to be talking about Shah Rukh Khan, King Khan, King of Bollywood. He has a whole host of nicknames, and he's about to get a couple more after this conversation.
Love that introduction. All right, Kale. So let's talk about Shah Rukh Khan, man. I think the biggest reason why we're talking about him is because his movie just came out, right? Pathaan. And it's driving people to the theaters like crazy. I think it's become the highest grossing movie or the fastest grossing movie that Bollywood has ever produced. In 5 days, I think it's grossed over 600 crore rupees, driven people to theaters. And the reason why it's such a big deal is because Shah Rukh Khan has had his popularity declining over the last few years, but also Bollywood itself, it wasn't really, the theaters are empty. The Bollywood movies by themselves weren't doing really well. So I think that's why this is a huge deal, not just for Shah Rukh Khan, but also for Bollywood. But Ketul, I know you haven't watched the movie yet, and you're more familiar with the old school Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about your memory of one of your first movie that you watch of his?
Oh, yeah. So Shah Rukh Khan has had so many movies from the old school days that I remember. So there's the very famous movies like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai or Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum. There's other movies like Veer Zara from like 2000, circa 2004 time frame.
Hmm.
There
Yeah.
is Mehuna. I mean, there's so many movies when you look at the late 90s and early 2000s that I can recall. And
Yep.
to be honest, I think like Shah Rukh Khan had several different eras, right? He had an era where he
Hmm.
was just becoming an actor, so people really didn't
Hmm.
know that. So that's like the real like early mid '90s range where he's just getting into the film industry.
Hmm.
Then he
Yeah.
had like his heyday, his early heyday actually, because I mean, I think it's safe to say he's dominated Bollywood cinema for over 30 years now. So he's had
Yes.
multiple heydays, but his early heydays I think were like the late '90s, early 2000s, where he hit a lot of the heavy hitter films like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai and films
Hmm.
like that. And then now what's interesting is as he's gotten older, he's still starting to remain in the main roles on some films, but in other times he's being a supporting actor, right? So he'll be like the brother of the main character, or he'll be like the
Hmm.
father of the main character. So you can see that evolution of the years where as he's getting older, he's starting to still be cast in some main hero roles, but then a lot more supporting actor type of roles.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially as you said, like he had multiple heydays. I think till even mid 2000s, right? 2007 is where Chak De India came out, and Chak De India did really, really well, right? And Om Shanti Om and others during that time frame, which did really well. But I think after 2010-11, that's when his popularity allegedly started declining a little bit more with the advent of these other, quote unquote stars who came, such as Ranbir Kapoor and Imran Khan and Ayushmann Khurrana and others. And I think his last movie came 4 years ago or over 4 years ago. I think it was Zero or something, right? Which did not do really well. So even like starting from 2012, 2013, so Happy New Year, the Dilwale, Jab Harry Met Sejal, and Zero, all of them, increasingly uh, not did as well as the star warranted. Like he had drawn people to the theaters before, but these movies just really couldn't. And now, after a long break, like he probably didn't even shoot for like 4 years. So now he's back to the theaters after 4 years. So that basically during that time, what my belief is that what has changed in these 3 4 years is that definitely he's taken a longer break. So people were waiting for his movies, which he used to do one movie a year. Now it's been 4 years. But also, I think social media, specifically Instagram, really had a lot of positive publicity around his personality and around his personal life. I think he was also on a show, a Netflix show, The Famous Lives of Bollywood Wives. So I think he was portrayed in a very positive light. And there is a lot of reels on Instagram. There's a lot of publicity around his personality, his approach to dealing with people, especially women and so on. I think it's really given him that type of a publicity, which is now translating into the kind of audience that he's able to draw the theaters. I don't know if you need anything to add to that, Ketan.
I agree that the mass media coverage, social media, etc., is definitely helping them. But to be honest, I think a lot of it is also nostalgia, because you have people that were born and raised in the 90s that are thinking about old school Bollywood. They're thinking of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Kal Ho Na Ho, all those types of old school movies, and like they're drawing them back to the old school actors that portrayed those very, very well received characters of that time. And it's funny because I think the most common names in Bollywood cinema in the early days, when we're talking 90s, early 2000s, were names like Raj and Rohan. They're so common in those days, right? And Rahul.
Right,
Rahul's
right,
the
right.
other one.
Rahul.
Raj,
Yep.
Rohan, and Rahul. It's like one of those three names. It's like always an R for some reason.
Yeah.
And speaking of
Yeah,
which, let's change the
100%.
topic a little bit. What is your favorite Shah Rukh Khan movie, people?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Honestly, if I were to look back, I want to say Swades.
Oh,
And
Swordess. Okay.
definitely nostalgic, but also it's because I'm an expat in this country, right? I'm in the US. Swades is a is a story of a Indian man who's living in the US, but he goes back to India and then he can't stop thinking about his life in India because of what been able to do. So I think I kind of have I'm biased towards that movie because of many other reasons. But I that's definitely one of my favorite movies of his.
I
What about
remember
you?
that movie. That was the one where he was an engineer and he went back to India and started helping like small villages and stuff with
Yep,
creating
yep,
like using water to like power
exactly.
electricity and that kind of stuff, right? Okay, I remember that movie.
100%.
That takes me
Yeah,
back.
he used to work at NASA. He was a NASA engineer, and then that's when he went back.
Okay, interesting.
What
Um,
about you? Which one's your favorite?
so I do really like the old school ones. So like the ones I keep mentioning, Kabhi Khushi Gum and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. But if I think of a more recent one, I also like the Don movies. The Don movies are pretty entertaining too.
Nice.
The
Okay.
way he's
Yeah,
portrayed
the
like as
Dawn
a
movies are
villain,
nice.
it's actually pretty entertaining to watch.
That is true. Yeah, I remember that. It's pretty entertaining. No, so to be honest, I think all of his movies have always been entertaining. It's just some of the movies recently haven't done as well. If I'm being honest, I liked his one of the recent movies, which was Jab Harry Met Sejal. It's actually based in Europe. The story revolves around Shah Rukh Khan and Anushka Sharma trying to find a ring that Anushka has lost through the Europe, and they travel across different countries, and they in the process they fall in love. I think it's a beautiful story. So I definitely enjoyed that as well. I know it didn't draw as much crowd to the theaters, but definitely enjoyed that. So
So we would absolutely love to hear from all our listeners as well. If you guys have an opinion about Shah Rukh Khan, leave those comments in the comment section below. And again, if you guys like this topic, be sure to show us support by giving Your Life Unfiltered a subscribe on YouTube. We would much appreciate it. Shout out
all
to all
right.
our listeners, and let's keep it going.
Yeah, I was gonna say shout out to all the SRK fans out there. I know this. He has a huge following. I'm gonna definitely share this episode with a couple of my friends who have been Shah Rukh Khan's fans since the day I can recollect, which is a long time ago, like when I was like a kid at a school. So they've been a SRK fan since like time immemorial. So I think they will really love and enjoy this. Um, all right. So I think I want to reflect on one of the things that he mentioned. Ketul, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, um, being like a Bollywood star in the sense that like as being a superstar. I think Shah Rukh has called himself the last of the stars. So that's an interesting statement in itself because um, you know he saw social media and the rise of influencer and influencer economy much before a lot of other stars did, right? So he saw that people are gonna be becoming local celebrities themselves through
Yeah,
social media because they can portray their talents, right? They if somebody's a singer, they could just start a singing channel or a page, or they can get viral through reels, or if somebody's a dancer or like a whatever topic you pick, right? So they're gonna be like local celebrities,
yeah.
and before too long, I think he foresaw that in the years that are going to be coming up, there is not going to be like huge stars like he is or he was or used to be going forward. He is basically the last of the stars, as he quoted. I don't know if Akito, if you have anything to add to that.
That is actually a very interesting take because what you're basically saying is that the idea of superstardom historically was all about media coverage. It was all about
Correct.
old school media covers, like, getting your face out in movies, getting your face out in TV commercials, things like that. And he was actually from a different era. So I can definitely agree with that. He's one of the few stars. I don't know about the last star, but he's one of the few stars that's had that staying power for so long that is also relevant on social media. I do think that
Right.
there's a couple other people that fall in that category as well. You have Hrithik Roshan, for example. He's from the same general era. You have a couple other people like that as well, right? But he's definitely one of the bigger ones, I think, from that
Hmm.
era that has had that staying power. A lot of the celebrities now, the reason why they're known isn't so much because of just the film piece or just just on TV commercials. They're known also because of social media. So he's the one
Yeah.
that was able to successfully convert from being a true megastar from before social media and then continue that into social media. In that sense, I kind of
Right.
agree with it, but I also think he's one of few. There are a couple others, right? Another one could be like Akshay Kumar. He's had staying power for decades as well.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is that so if you look at the stardom itself, right? So there is like the number of people, the number of followers that Shah Rukh Khan has had has been the highest like ever since, right? So as long as you can think of, at least like when I reflect on it, because the Hrithik Roshan, Akshay Kumar, not disrespect to them, they are good stars, they are huge people like stars in themselves, but I think they don't come as close to Shah Rukh Khan by any measure because of many reasons, right? Because he's been able to stay relevant in media for such a long time, even without producing movies. And I think that's just because that's his stature, right? So, um, and that's something unique about him. That's what makes him what he is. So that's basically what why I think and he said it in his own words that he's last of the stars. Actually, I want to switch gears a little bit, talk about his movies that were shot in the US. Actually, he's shot a lot of movies in the US, Ketul. I don't know if you recall all of them, but a few off the top of my head. Pardes is definitely number one, which came in like late 90s. And
Okay.
then there's another one. My Name is Khan, Kal Ho Na
I
Ho,
remember that one. Yes, I
and
remember.
Swades.
Yeah.
So which ones that you recollect that were shot in the US were your favorite?
Um, Ones that were shot in the U.S. Well, I do like
So
Swades.
Dawn was not shot in the US. Dawn was shot
Yeah,
in Europe.
yeah. I do like Swades a lot. Actually, the entire concept was fascinating. How he was such an educated person,
Yeah,
and then he took that education and kind of gave back to his home country. So I did like Swades a lot.
yeah, right. My favorite from the ones that was shot in the US, aside from Swades, was actually Swades was set in the US, but it was mostly shot in India. So I guess that's probably not on the list. But Kal Ho Na was definitely number one on my list of the movies that were shot in the US because it's set in New York. So that really drove my love for New York, if I'm being honest. And it's the funny thing. So first time I went to New York, I actually after I came back, I watched the movie again to see which all places did I go, and made a list of all the places I wanted to go the next time I go to New
It's funny.
York.
It's funny.
So
So the
that's
question is, did you make sure to hit those places?
I did, yeah.
You did,
Over the
right?
like I've been to New York. I've been fortunate enough to go a few times now, so I think I've covered all the places that were covered in the movie that were the movie was shot at. So I feel very lucky that way.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So thank you all for joining this very special episode. I hope you guys are also Shah Rukh fans. If you are, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Drop us a subscribe, and please be sure to share this episode with all the SRK fans you know.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.